On the sixth day, O'Reilly 421 filled the forward display. The asteroid rotated slowly against the starfield, a massive irregular body streaked with metal and ice. Sunlight caught along exposed veins, glittering like frozen lightning. No one spoke for several seconds. Even Captain Markovich let the silence stand. Then she said, "Begin approach sequence." The crew moved. Training replaced awe. Sarah stabilized deployment systems. Evelyn refined landing maps. Steve monitored field integrity. Matteo reviewed extraction patterns. Luke entered full neural synchronization. The mining swarm woke. One by one, machines unfolded inside Phantom. Survey drones detached from the cargo spine and drifted outward like black seeds. Cutters powered up. Anchor rigs extended. Autonomous haulers prepared to launch. Luke felt them all. His mind became a small industrial civilization waiting to touch stone. Evelyn identified the primary extraction site. Ridge 7. Metallic concentration is highest along the fracture line. Sarah confirmed. Anchor stability acceptable. Markovich gave the order. Deploy first swarm. Luke released the drones. They emerged from Phantom in silence, sliding into space beneath the cloak envelope before field apertures opened just wide enough to let them pass. For the first time in history, Martian machines touched the asteroid belt. A small cutter landed on O'Reilly 421. Its anchors fired. Its legs gripped. Luke felt the contact as a pressure in his palm. He whispered, "We're down." Mission Control, receiving delayed compressed telemetry through secure bursts, erupted in applause across millions of kilometers. Angel gripped the edge of her console. Marcus Vallon stood behind the command tier, motionless. In the mining fields, miners shouted loud enough to shake dust from the gantries. The old quartermaster wiped her eyes with the back of one hand and pretended she had not. On Phantom, Evelyn smiled openly. Sarah's hands shook over the console. Steve said, very quietly, "I'll be damned." Matteo crossed himself in an old gesture Luke had never seen him make before. Luke began the first cut. A thin blue line opened across the asteroid surface. Metal older than life on Earth split beneath Martian light. For 1 perfect minute, everything worked. Then the first alarm sounded. It was small. Almost polite. Field harmonic variance, 0.8%. Sarah saw it first. That's odd. Steve floated beside her station. How odd? Possibly nothing. That is my least favorite category. The variance corrected itself. Sarah watched the line settle. Back to nominal. Luke continued cutting. The second alarm came 30 seconds later. Reactor coolant pressure fluctuation. Steve's voice changed. "Captain, I have a transient in the aft thermal loop." Markovich answered instantly. "Severity?" "Low." Sarah said, "Field variance recurring." "Relation?" "Unknown." Evelyn looked up from geology. "Should we pause extraction?" Markovich considered. "Negative. Continue at reduced output." Luke lowered cutting intensity by 15%. The swarm responded. The asteroid surface continued opening. Then Luke felt something through the interface that no instrument had yet named. A stutter. Not in the drones. Not in the ship. In the space between them. Like a heartbeat missing inside the cloak. He spoke before understanding why. "Captain." Markovich turned. "What do you have?" "I don't know." Steve said, "That is less comforting than my version of not knowing." Luke closed his eyes. The drones were fine. The ship was fine. But the field surrounding them felt wrong. A pressure building in no direction. Then every light in the neural bay flickered. The third alarm became 20 alarms. Field harmonic failure, reactor instability, thermal loop breach, neural latency spike, cloak envelope oscillation. Sarah's hands flew across her console. This shouldn't be possible. Steve strapped himself into the engineering chair. Excellent. A new category. Captain Markovich's voice became iron. Abort extraction. Recall swarm. Luke sent the command. Nothing happened. The drones remained on the asteroid. He tried again. 1 cutter obeyed. 3 rotated in the wrong direction. 2 shut down. 1 began cutting deeper. Luke felt the swarm slipping away from him. Neural control is degrading. Manual override, Markovich ordered. Sarah entered the command. The system rejected it. Steve swore. Manual override locked behind the cloak field controller. Then shut down the cloak. Sarah's face went pale. If we shut down at this harmonic state, the field could collapse inward. Markovich understood. Define inward. Before Sarah could answer, the ship lurched. Not moved. Lurched. As if space itself had struck the hull. Luke's restraints cut into his shoulders. Evelyn slammed against her console. A pressure door exploded down the corridor. Atmosphere vented for half a second before emergency seals closed. Microfracture, Deck 2 fire, AFT systems casualty alert. The ship began screaming. In mission control, the first signal glitch appeared as a missing telemetry packet. A technician frowned. Then 3 more packets vanished. Then 17. Angel leaned forward. Phantom, confirm status. Static. The flight director raised one hand. Hold channel. Marcus stood behind the command tier, watching every screen. Angel repeated, Phantom 1, mission control. Confirm status. A burst of data arrived. Corrupted. Fragmented. Enough for 1 image. Reactor instability. Then nothing. The room changed. No one panicked. Martian professionals did not panic. They became very still. Angel's voice remained controlled only because she forced it to. Phantom, respond. Static. On Phantom, Steve crawled through smoke toward an exposed junction panel while emergency lights strobed red. Who designed this routing? Sarah shouted over the alarms, You praised the ship yesterday. I praised the exterior. I had not yet been personally betrayed by its organs. He tore open the panel. A flash burned across his glove. He screamed, then kept working. Luke fought the neural interface. The mining swarm was now worse than useless. Half the drones were feeding corrupted telemetry back into his cortex. The asteroid seemed to pulse inside his skull. Phantom's cloak folded and unfolded, multiplying false positions across the sensor grid. He saw the ship from outside. Then from inside. Then from positions that did not exist. His body convulsed. Matteo reached him. Disconnect. Luke gritted his teeth. If I disconnect, the drones cut through the anchor line. Luke. They'll tear us into the asteroid. Matteo looked at the display. Luke was right. 1 malfunctioning cutter had locked onto the main deployment boom. If it severed the boom while the cloak envelope oscillated, Phantom could spin directly into O'Reilly, 421. Matteo strapped himself into the secondary mining console. What do you need? Manual cutter isolation. Where? Drone 7. Matteo found it. Done. No. The other 7. There are 2 7? 1 is registry. 1 is swarm position. That is stupid. Yes. Matteo isolated the cutter. Luke drove the remaining drones away from the ship by brute force, pushing through feedback that felt like hot wire behind his eyes. One by one, the machines detached. 1 exploded against the asteroid surface. Another vanished into the field distortion. The deployment boom tore free. Phantom spun. Captain Markovich fired attitude thrusters. The ship stabilized for half a second. Then the reactor surged. Every light went white. Angel heard Luke breathe before she heard his voice. Mission Control had opened every emergency frequency, every backup carrier, every channel Phantom possessed. For nearly 2 minutes, there was only static. Then, Mission. Angel stood. Luke? The flight director pointed sharply for silence. The signal was weak, distorted, bleeding through open channels not designed for speech. Luke's face appeared for less than a second. Blood on his forehead. Smoke behind him. Neural restraints still locked around his shoulders. Angel forgot rank. Luke. Across Mars, emergency rebroadcast systems caught the open transmission. Public channels, still monitoring the historic mission, began carrying fragments before sensors could stop them. Across the Martian surface, and below, miners stopped celebrating. In New Olympus, thousands stared upward at public screens. In schools, children watched teachers turn pale. Luke's voice broke through again. Angel. She pressed both hands to the console. I'm here. The flight director whispered, keep him talking. Angel ignored him. I'm here, Luke. The delay should have made conversation impossible, but the emergency burst compressed and relayed unpredictably through field distortions. For a few impossible seconds, they had something almost like real time. Luke looked off-screen. Someone shouted behind him. Steve, maybe. Or Sarah. A metallic groan tore through the signal. Luke smiled. It was the same smile he had worn in the mine. The one that forgave danger for arriving. I should have told your father myself, he said. Angel began crying. Not loudly. Not dramatically. The tears simply came, and she could no longer stop them. Luke, listen to me. Earth interference is possible. Rescue protocols are. He shook his head. There was no time for lies. No time for mission language. No time for Mars. I love you. The room disappeared around Angel. The Council. Her father. Mission Control. The entire watching planet. Only the voice remained. She tried to answer. The signal broke. For 1 second the screen showed Phantom from an external camera. The black ship twisted beside the asteroid, wrapped in a halo of white distortion. Light bent around it. Space itself seemed to tear. Then Phantom became a star. A silent white detonation bloomed in the asteroid belt. Telemetry ceased. Mission Control lost all signal. The public broadcast cut to emergency emblem. No one spoke. Angel remained standing with her hands on the console. Her mouth still shaped around the words she had not said in time. Behind her, Marcus Vallon closed his eyes. For the first time in his life, the administrator looked old. Mars mourned before the bodies were cold. Because there were no bodies. There never were in space. There was only signal loss. A final transmission. A flash of light. Then interpretation. The administration acted quickly. It had to. Within hours, official statements confirmed what every Martian already feared: Phantom 1 had been destroyed during hostile interference beyond the Martian sphere. The exact source remained under investigation. Earth was not named directly. It did not need to be. Every classroom, every lecture, every missing probe, every dead expedition had prepared the conclusion. Earth had killed them. The crew became martyrs before the day ended. Captain Elena Markovich. Lieutenant Armin Sayegh. Tessa Rourke. Sarah Palmer. Evelyn Fisher. Steve Jones. Mateo Alvarez. Luke Ashford. Their faces appeared across every public screen. In the mining fields, the old quartermaster stood alone beneath the hanging mining suits, watching Luke's final image replay above the depot doors. She held the transfer record from the Mark IV frame in both hands. Then, with no one watching, she entered the old suit bay and painted a small black stripe across the chest plate of Luke's father's armor. In the academy dormitory, empty bunks were sealed. In the Hall of Founders, flowers gathered beneath Phantom's hologram. In the botanical dome, Angel sat beside the stream. She did not cry there. The crying had ended. Something else had begun. 3 days later, Marcus found her in the same dome. He stood at the entrance for a while before speaking. Angel. She did not turn. He approached slowly. The man who could address thousands without hesitation seemed uncertain before his own daughter. You should rest. She laughed once. It was a dead sound. Is that an order? No. That must be difficult for you. He absorbed the blow because he deserved it. I am sorry. She turned then. Her eyes were red, but dry. For what? Marcus did not answer quickly enough. Angel stood. Are you sorry he died? Or sorry he died loving me where everyone could hear it? Angel, he was going to ask you. Marcus looked at her. What? When he came back. He was going to ask you himself. For the first time, Marcus had no statesman's answer ready. Angel stepped closer. And you would have said no. The artificial leaves moved in manufactured wind. Marcus looked away. I would have asked him to wait. That's how men like you say no when you want to remain kind. He closed his eyes. The sentence struck too accurately. Angel's voice lowered. He died before you had to decide whether his life was worth less than my name. Marcus said, I never thought his life was worth less. No. She looked at him with terrible clarity. You only thought his place was. Marcus had governed mines, cities, councils, and crises. He had no defense against that. Angel walked past him. At the entrance, she stopped. When they play his message at the memorial, don't cut my name out. Marcus turned. I wouldn't. She looked back. Yes, Father. You would. Then she left. Marcus remained alone in the dome, listening to artificial water move over imported stones. For a brief moment, he almost understood the shape of the future coming toward him. Then duty returned. And with it, deliberate blindness. The memorial took place beneath the Hall of Founders. Millions watched. Marcus Valens spoke beautifully. He praised Captain Markovich's discipline, Sarah's brilliance, Evelyn's promise, Steve's courage, Mateo's decades of service, and Luke. When Luke's face appeared, the hall changed. The miner's son. The cadet who interrupted Founders Day. The operator who said he loved someone instead of shouting patriotic last words. Marcus paused before reading the official text. Something in him resisted. Then he put the tablet down. The hall waited. Luke Ashford was not born to command, Marcus said. Angel looked up sharply. He was not born to privilege. He was not raised beneath the gardens of New Olympus or educated among the descendants of the progenitors. He was born where Mars is coldest, where civilization is not an idea but a shift that begins before dawn. The crowd listened. He came to us with a flaw. Marcus looked toward Angel. He could not pass suffering without answering it. A murmur moved through the hall. Our institutions called this inefficiency. Our instructors called it indiscipline. Our ceremonies called it heroism only after it became useful. He paused. The sentence had gone farther than planned. Too far. But he continued. Perhaps history requires such people because institutions forget what they are for. Angel stared at her father. For one moment, she saw the man he might have been in another civilization. Marcus regained the official rhythm. Luke Ashford died carrying humanity toward the frontier. He lifted the Star of Humanity medal. May Mars prove worthy of his sacrifice. Applause thundered. Angel did not applaud. She stood as Luke's final message played. Angel. The hall heard his broken voice. I should have told your father myself. A pause. I love you. This time Angel answered. No microphone carried it. No broadcast recorded it. But she said it aloud. I love you too. The words reached no one. Except perhaps the dead. Then came silence. Not ceremonial silence. Real silence. Darkness without sound. A darkness so complete it seemed to exist before thought. Luke floated inside it. He did not know he was Luke. He did not know he had been a miner. He did not know Mars, phantom, angel, ice, metal, fear or love. There was only the slow return of sensation. First pain. Then breath. Then light. Too much light. White light. Warm light. Not emergency red. Not Martian dome amber. White. His body tried to move and failed. Something soft held him. Something touched his chest. Voices surrounded him. Not shouting. That was wrong. After catastrophe, people shouted. Orders. Alarms. Status. Evacuation. Seal breach. Fire. Run. These voices were calm. That terrified him. Luke opened his eyes. The ceiling above him was smooth, curved and pale. No pipes. No conduits. No emergency panels. No rivets. The light seemed to come from the material itself. Machines stood around him, but they did not look like machines. No exposed joints. No visible screens. No warning labels. They resembled quiet white sculptures arranged beside a bed. A bed. Not a restraint chair. Not a med pod. A bed. Luke inhaled violently. His lungs worked. That made no sense. He turned his head. Several figures stood nearby wearing seamless white armor or medical suits, their faces hidden behind translucent masks. They moved with impossible calm. One noticed he was awake. Luke Ashford, the figure said. The accent was wrong. The words were almost Martian standard. Almost. Luke's heart detonated in his chest. He tore one hand free from a monitoring field. A soft alarm sounded. The figure stepped back. Not forward. Back. Why back? He ripped another sensor from his neck. Pain flared. He rolled from the bed and struck the floor hard. His legs failed beneath him. Someone said, "Do not restrain him." Do not restrain him? That was wrong. Everything was wrong. Luke crawled backward until his shoulder hit the wall. He searched for a weapon, helmet, pressure seal, anything. Where am I? His voice came out cracked. One of the masked figures approached slowly. Luke shouted, "Stay away!" The figure stopped immediately. Hands raised. No weapon. No command. No threat. Luke's breath came too fast. He looked around the room. There was a window behind the medical staff, but the light beyond it was impossible. Blue, green and gold moved together in a way his mind could not organize. A garden? No. No. He had died. This was hallucination. Or Earth. The word hit him so violently he almost vomited. Earth. Enemy world. Machine world. Dead world. A second figure turned to the others. His cortisol is spiking. Another answered, "Let him orient." Let him? No one let people do things during emergency containment. The first figure slowly reached toward her own mask. Luke pressed himself harder against the wall. She stopped. Then, carefully, she removed the mask. She was young. Human. A woman. Her skin was dark. Not Martian tan from filtered radiation. Not the golden and caramel variations Luke knew from 2 centuries of isolated colony bloodlines. Dark. Rich. Alive. Her curly hair was black, cut short against her head. Her eyes were bright blue, startlingly kind. Luke stared at her because his brain could not find a category. He had never seen a black person before. Not in life, there were none in Mars. Only once, perhaps, in a damaged pre-Exodus archive image during childhood, before the teacher changed the screen and said old Earth had been divided into many unstable populations. The woman knelt several meters away. She made herself smaller. Less threatening. When she spoke, her Martian standard carried strange music under the consonants. "My name is Dr. Asha Rao." Luke could not answer. "You are safe." He almost laughed. Safe was a word people used before demands. Before interrogations. Before doors locked. Asha seemed to understand that he did not believe her. So she said something else. "You were aboard a vessel called Phantom 1. Luke froze. "Where is my crew?" Her expression changed. Not pity. Not evasion. Something careful. "Some survived." The word struck him. Some. He tried to stand. His legs failed. Where? They are being treated. Where? In this facility. He looked around wildly. What facility? Asha held his gaze. For the first time, she hesitated. Not because she did not know the answer. Because she knew the answer would destroy him. Luke. No. He did not know why he said it before she spoke. He simply felt the shape of the impossible approaching. Asha continued gently. "You are in New Delhi." The words meant nothing. He shook his head. "What colony?" "No colony." "What station?" "No station." His voice became a whisper. "Then where?" Asha looked at him with unbearable kindness. "Earth." The room vanished. Not physically. But in meaning. Every lesson of his life broke loose at once. Earth burned. Earth obeyed. Earth killed expeditions. Earth sabotaged probes. Earth imposed a siege. Earth was Cherokee. Earth was the graveyard of humanity. Earth was the enemy beyond Deimos. Earth was dead. Luke looked past Asha toward the window. His eyes finally focused. Outside stood trees. Not botanical dome trees in regulated soil. Not ceremonial trees behind glass. Trees beyond counting. Their leaves moved in wind. Real wind. Above them stretched sky. Blue sky. Not a screen. Not a projection. Clouds drifted across it, enormous and white, casting shadows over green hills. Something crossed the air. Small. Winged. Alive. A bird. Luke had seen birds only in Founder Hall archives, where they appeared before the wars, before the fall, before the great human mistake. The bird landed on a branch and sang. The sound was absurd. Tiny. Meaningless. More impossible than any machine. Luke began to cry. He did not decide to. He did not understand it. His body simply recognized something his world had never given him and broke under the knowledge. Asha stayed where she was. No one touched him. No one spoke. For the first time in his life, Luke Ashford breathed the air of Earth. And somewhere deep inside him, beneath terror, beneath grief, beneath the ruins of everything Mars had taught him, a terrible question opened its eyes. If Earth was alive, what else had been a lie?